Welcome back to HTP Podcast, where we go beyond just strokes and strategy. And our main mission is to change the culture of tennis, having one conversation at a time through a more positive and holistic approach. And today I'm here with Greg. I've known Greg basically my whole life, and I basically started tennis with Greg. I do have to say, Greg, there are definitely pivotal moments in my playing career that you really helped me. Obviously, I moved to Florida at a really young age. Anytime I came back, anytime I came to Paseo, always felt like home to me. And I always felt welcomed. I always felt like I had someone to play with. And being in Arizona, especially, it's a little bit better now, but at that time, there weren't a ton of players to play with. That always meant a lot to me. Coming back home, I always had a place. And another really pivotal moment for me, I remember we were actually in Germany, didn't even know we were in Germany at the same time. We were playing club tennis. I was struggling. I was really mentally, I don't remember exactly what I was struggling with at that time per se, but I know mentally I was just really down. And we had a couple practices together, and you just kind of helped me like switch things up and just kind of get more clarity into my game. Little things that really helped me like kind of change, because I just remember mentally I was really struggling at that time. I think we had like one or two practices that when we were in Germany together, because our clubs were actually playing against each other.
That was
But
crazy.
yeah, I know, it was funny. Such a small world how that happens. It really did help me. And you've helped me in so many other ways that I don't know if I've ever fully expressed that to you, but you've always been a pivotal coach in my life at different moments. So I really appreciate that. You have so much extensive experience as a player, as a coach, as a manager, as a college, like you have so much. So please introduce yourself and all the good things about you.
Well, that was really sweet of you to say, first of all. So thanks for sharing that. And you have shared that. If you haven't said it in those specific words, my family, myself, my whole family, we've always enjoyed being around you. And it was because you've always showed your gratefulness and your conscientiousness. And so you've always repaid, I bet anybody you've been around with just, a good work ethic and a good energy around you. So glad that you felt like it was home, because it was always nice to have you back at Paseo. Yeah, the Germany thing was super unique, but I think what might have turned it around, we did have a couple of hits, and I'm always want to be impactful and productive. Sometimes it's by not saying anything, and maybe sometimes it's by saying a lot. What happened in Germany is we put face paint on, and we drove our bikes to the public viewing and watched Germany
That's
play the World
right.
Cup
We
soccer
did.
game.
Yes.
Remember that? We
Yes.
had we had a group of, I don't know, 8 to 10 of us. Autumn and Tatum and Liam. It was Arjun and Simran and her mom. It was Ethan and Corinne and her mom and their mom. And we all piled on our bikes and had the German flags and drove to
Yes.
Bensheim and watched the game. So, sometimes it's that off-court time and that, rest and recovery that can be as pivotal for getting through a tough moment on the court, as
Yes.
the on-court time. On to the introduction. My dad played junior college football at Hutchinson Junior College in Kansas. And he,
Wow.
he played his fall semester of junior college football. And January rolled around, and the football coach said, "Hey, Prudhomme, come to my office." And my dad goes in the office and he says, "Hey, you got to go out to the tennis practice tomorrow." He said, "The other half of your scholarship that I gave you, I took from the tennis coach." So my dad went out and he played junior college tennis. He did play a little in high school. He just was one of those all-around athletes. He did football, basketball. So he fell in love with tennis. He finished out his college football career there and then at UK. And then he just had that on his mind from that moment on, that he wanted to get into tennis. And so I was 5 years old, and my dad had finally saved enough money and got the half acre, built a tennis court in our backyard. And so
Right.
that's really where it all started.
Wow.
He didn't even teach my mom how to play tennis until she was 30 and had us three children. My younger brother was just being born, my older brother 5 years older, and he just taught us all how to play, taught his wife how to play. So he had his built-in practice partners, and his goal, other than for himself, for tennis to be therapeutic through exercise, mental health, and connection with his wife and family. He said, "You kids aren't playing to be good. However good you want to be is entirely up to you. I just want wanted to introduce a sport for a lifetime.
That's amazing. That's really
So,
cool.
so that's really how it all started off. And I played a lot of soccer growing up. And even though I dabbled and was a social tennis player starting right at 5 years old, through high school, I hadn't committed to it as a primary sport. Soccer is really what I had committed to up through about 13, 14 years old. And then after great experiences on the soccer field, got to go to Europe a couple of times with the soccer team, playing in tournaments, traveling around. I felt kind of fulfilled, and I just seemed like it was the right time to switch to tennis in high school. So
Wow.
then, yeah, so then it was all tennis from that moment on. I miss soccer a lot. I still keep in contact by watching my favorite teams and joined some men's leagues and co-ed leagues over the years through my adulthood and middle-age, midlife crisis, joined a team again. But then it just took off in high school, and then I went and played in college. And it was the summer between my junior year down at U of A. I graduated in '93, playing on the team at University of Arizona, that I got hired at Paseo Racket Center by the previous leaseor of the City of Glendale Public Tennis Center.
Okay.
And so that was 1992. I think I said 93. It was 92. And family is still there. So that's been 32 years ago. And,
Wow.
and I was basically still there, although I took my tennis career in many different directions, as you mentioned, as a junior college coach, a Division II college coach, a Division I coach, coaching and now managing. But until I moved here to California full time as the general manager of the Racket Club of Irvine, I had been at Paseo Racket Center since my junior year of college. And
Wow.
it's still there in the family. And so that's where we connected with you and the brothers and your mom and dad
Yep.
way back when there.
Yeah, I know Paseo is just like such a solid home ground. I feel like for so many people too. I know I'm not the only one, but for so many, and your family just always being a part of it, you definitely felt that family like community to it as well, which I always loved.
It's nice that it still happens with Ed there. I have not been there as full time. Obviously, when I took a director job at the Camelback Village in Phoenix, as Grand Canyon transitioned to Division I, my responsibilities as the head coach of men and women were much greater. I was still at Paseo on a regular basis, just not in the full capacity as I was my first, let's say, 15, 20 years there.
Yeah.
But players still show up. We haven't seen in 5, 10, in some cases 20, 25 years.
Wow.
And they say, gosh, I'm so glad you're still there. I just wanted to see if the Prudhommes were still there. And now I'm married and I have kids and yep, you're still here. So it is fun to have those roots there and to have that longevity. It's rewarding to know that at the time when I was a young 20-something-year-old coach, it's just all about the tennis.
Yeah.
And you don't realize the impact that you could have on these people's lives, and that it's still sometimes a bright spot for them that they look back to, and maybe they have goals if they did leave tennis at one time, they want to come back to it because they had a good experience when they were younger.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I mean, it definitely, I feel it just continues to do that. I do have a question for you about the tennis industry. Now, some people really feel like it's evolved and changed. Other people kind of feel like it's kind of like this dinosaur. It's still really, old things are still very intact. How do you see it? Because you've hold so many different positions, tennis industry now, and maybe where it's growing.
Because of my own portfolio in tennis, it's never ceased to grow for me. Again, in that, I was a tennis instructor, a tennis head pro, a tennis director, a college coach at multi levels, served on numerous committees, whether it be the NCAA Division I, Division II tennis committees, regional committees, United States Professional Tennis Association, board members and committees, now RSPA. So for me, it's always growing.
Yeah.
And my love for the game is always growing because as are either aging or reflecting or trying to become enlightened,
Yeah.
we realize that it's really about the people and it's really about the impact that, we're making on people's lives. So it doesn't answer your question very specifically. I'll expand a little bit more just to go back to something that the famous coach John Wooden said as the UCLA basketball coach. He had won numerous championships. And when he was asked, well, was this a successful season? You've won 10 in a row. And he said, I'll tell you the same thing that I've always told you. I won't know for 10 years down the road to see where my athletes end up if this was successful season. And so he held true to that. That's kind of how I feel with tennis, whether it's a coaching capacity of a team, whether it's a one-on-one individual capacity, whether it's being on a committee or directing an entire club or managing the entire club, including the staff. We get to use tennis as a vehicle. Tennis in and of itself is a beautiful sport and game, sport for a lifetime, for health and fitness and emotional and mental growth. But it's also a great vehicle that extends in the people for me. So a little more specific to answer your question. Yes, on the court, obviously, it's evolved and it grows. It seems like the tennis players are so more athletic than they were if you go back, decades. So it's just so much fun to see the court coverage and the athleticism in both the men's and the women's, and the speed and the direction changes and the variety. That's wonderful. I suppose if you were to look at some of the other details, by example, one of our tennis members at the Village in my previous position, she played tennis at Arizona State University, very strong tennis player. All of the members were going to tune in to a live feed on YouTube because she was having her professional pickleball debut. Right. And many of them were begrudgingly tuning in. I'm tuning in to watch my friend, not to watch pickleball, because I don't want to sell out and I don't want to feed the competition or the enemy. So I'm watching this, and I'm watching with wonder and envy and a curious mind, because they have these introductions about every player on the team. Nearly every player on the team had a tennis background, and they were playing professional pickleball, and some of them said, I've been playing pickleball for 18 months. And anyhow, they did it really well. The introductions were wonderful. When they introduced the Gilbert Gladiators, suburb of Phoenix, Gilbert, Arizona, a gladiator came out first with his sword, and there was pyrotechnics. There was fire in this indoor pickleball facility. The owner who set this all up was also dressed in a tracksuit and was the DJ. So he was doing all the announcing, and I'm just thinking, that's pretty cool. Like, we need to do more of that with tennis. I think the core of tennis itself is all we need, because it is that sport for a lifetime, and studies have shown time and again, replicated studies in numerous countries, that it adds 10 years to life. The oscillation of the anaerobic activity combined with the cardio activity, combined with the mental skills that you need when you play, combined with the social engagement that you get, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Now, how it might be delivered and packaged, and how there perhaps could be more variety to attract more people to the wonderful sport, I think there's always room for improvement.
That's a great answer. Really good point. Yeah, I definitely feel too, tennis could add a little bit more to that as well. On to a completely different question, but very much within your expertise, is psychology. And you got your PhD and all of that. If you could pick like one thing on the mental side that, because there's so many things that you could do, and you've helped so many players too on the mental side, I would say, yes, there are tennis coaches who have, a psychology background or some mindset growth background, but not all coaches do. I think coaches who do have more of a mental background can really help players during those tough times, or when they're burnt out, or, just like, God, I hate tennis right now, what do you think is one thing that really motivated yourself, or maybe you were able to help someone move through? Now, of course, on the individual level, it's going to be so specific for each person. So I'm kind of talking more general here. If there was like one thing that really stuck out to you on the mental side to help a tennis player going through a hard moment.
Yeah, that's a great question, Gira. Man, you're handcuffing me by just saying, what's one thing?
It's hard.
Because we can go on and on.
Yes.
I do think the core it's based off the research that's been done in the achievement goal theory. And I just think that it's so easy for coaches and parents that are great people. And then, of course, it transcends into their athletes and their children. It's just too easy to get sucked into the outcome and the results. 80% of everything that us as humans learn, according to the social learning theory, is in informal settings and situations.
Okay.
When we're on social media, when we're on the playground, when we're on the practice courts, when parents are on the side of the court talking to each other, that's where we're learning, and that's where where just winning is adored. That's where, unfortunately, perhaps poor behavior can get brushed under the rug. The winners are the ones that get acknowledged, and then it just gets amplified with status and fame and recognition and points and money and trophies and things like that. We have a tough job as tennis leaders, ambassadors, advocates, coaches, parents, and that is we have to try our best to move the performance, even the performance, not just the outcome and the results, but even wrap the performance in there, because of course we all want to perform well, just like we all want to win, but we don't always win and we don't always perform well. Those need to be byproducts. Those need to be secondary to the answer to your question. And that is, as coaches with our athletes, parents with their athletes, we need to help teach them and lead by example to focus on what we can control. Under the achievement goal theory, the people who fall on the spectrum of focusing on the tasks and the processes and the journeys that are under our control, these are the people that have more pro-social behavior. These are the people that have more longevity, that have less burnout, that win more often because they're not living and dying by every win and loss. They're not living and dying, 1,000 stab wounds by every point they lose throughout a practice, throughout a match. That's where you can feel blah, like you said in your answering your question, because your health and fun and joy and success is hinged on, I hope I have a good practice because I have a tournament this week. And so if I have a good practice, then I'm probably going to have a good tournament. I might win, but if I don't have a good practice, we need to cut through all of that as coaches, and we need to simplify it to, hey, these are the things under our control. We're going to have the best attitude we can have. We're going to have the best work ethic we can have. We're never going to give up on a set, game or point. We know that we can learn, and now I'm going into more than just one thing, but this is under our control. We know that the mistakes are a necessary part of our growth. We know that losses are necessary parts of our growth. We can control that mindset towards the ups and the downs. And if our coaches can learn to do that, they don't need a psychology background. They all have the tools. They've all been in the trenches. They all should feel confident in their ability to shift the focus into the tasks, moment to moment, staying in the present as you promote real well. And then the winning and the performances come.
Yeah. So good. That's such a well-rounded answer, because I know I really did handcuff you there. I mean, we could talk for hours about this.
Yeah. And we have
We
before.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know.
So
I might just need you to come back on just to talk about, the mental side of tennis. But
so we get to sum it up: task over outcome.
Yeah.
Process over results. That's the short answer.
Yeah, so good. That's so true. Greg, thank you so much for your time today. And if you guys like these tennis tales, please like, share, and subscribe.
Thanks.